What's poppin', everyone? It's Scout Eveleth, your local realtor, and today we are talking about the top reasons why people are leaving the Villages, Florida. Now, whether you're thinking about making a move, you're already living here, or you're wanting to learn more about the Villages, then this is going to be the perfect video for you. So today, here are some of the topics we'll be covering. What surprises new residents when it comes to the rules, fees, and lifestyle expectations, why people are choosing to or deciding to leave the Villages altogether, and when it makes sense for some people to pack up and move on. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, or just wanting to stay up to date on everything that's happening here in the Villages, Florida, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Also, be sure to check out my website, scoutthevillages.com, for the best way to check out homes for sale here in the Villages, Florida, and that's linked at the top of the video description down below. But thank you so much, and let's get right into it. Now, don't get me wrong, the Villages has a lot to love, but like any place, it's not a one-size-fits-all community. Over the years, I've talked to plenty of folks who ended up moving out just as thoughtfully as they moved in. So let's dive into some of the most common reasons that people decide this Florida dream isn't quite the right fit, starting with a biggie, and that is going to be the rules, the fees, and the fine print that no one really tells you about. Now, first up, let's talk about the not so fun stuff, which is going to be those rules, fees, and the fine print surprises that catch a lot of new residents off guard. When people talk about the cost and rules associated with the Villages, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the details, and for good reason. Unlike many other 55-plus communities that have a simple, flat monthly fee, the Villages breaks things down into several components, and each comes with its own set of rules and price tags. Now, the monthly amenity fee, which is currently around $199 per month, covers access to the recreation centers, pools, tennis, pickleball courts, and so much more. But unfortunately, that is just the beginning. You also have annual maintenance fees, bond payments, and fire assessments, which are tacked onto your property tax bill, and they can easily range from hundreds to thousands of dollars per year, depending on your home's size, type, and location. But most of these fees are not fixed because they can and do change, whether it's each year or multiple times per year. And the formula for how they calculate the increase is pretty complex, which often leaves new residents confused about what exactly they'll owe from one year to the next. But it's not just about the money. The Villages has a reputation for strict community standards, and these rules are enforced to maintain a certain look and a certain feeling throughout the Villages neighborhoods. So whether you want to paint your house a new color, change some of the landscaping, or install a fence for your pet, you'll need to get permission for all of these things first. The process usually involves contacting the ARC, or the Architectural Review Committee, where you'll need to submit a modification form and then wait for a decision, but even then, there's no guarantee that they're going to approve your request. And overnight street parking is also usually restricted, and there are detailed regulations about landscaping, yard decor, and even the types of vehicles that you can have in your driveway. For some, these rules provide peace of mind and a sense of order, but for others, it can feel like you're living under constant scrutiny, with every little change requiring permission and every deviation potentially resulting in a fine or a warning. So over time, this level of oversight and the increasing cost of the fees has become a major source of frustration, which has prompted some residents to look for a community with fewer restrictions and overall lower cost. Now, even if you love sunshine, the Florida climate can be a deal breaker for some, especially when the heat, humidity, and bugs become a part of their daily life. Now, if you've ever visited Florida in the summer, you know the climate can be intense. But living in it year-round is a whole different story. Residents of the Villages experience long and hot summers where temperatures regularly reach into the 90s, and when you factor in the humidity, it can sometimes feel well over 100 degrees. And this isn't just a few weeks of discomfort. The heat and humidity usually last for months, making outdoor activities like golf, tennis, or even walking the dog much less enjoyable than they would normally be. And for people who moved from cooler and drier climates, this adjustment can be particularly jarring, and the constant need for air conditioning can make utility bills high and keep people indoors for much of the year. But the weather isn't the only challenge. The same conditions that make Florida lush and green also make it full of bugs, especially mosquitoes. After a heavy rain or during the peak of summer, many residents avoid sitting outside unless they have a screened-in lanai just to enjoy their patios. The bugs and mosquitoes can turn what should be a relaxing evening into what feels like a battle with nature sometimes. And for those with allergies or sensitivities, that is another drawback depending on the time of year and the pollen counts. So while some residents can adapt and find ways to cope, others find the relentless heat, the humidity, and the bugs simply too much to handle, which leads them to leave and find cooler and less buggy places to live. Now, another common reason people pack up is the Villages just isn't the small retirement community that it used to be. One of the most talked about changes in the Villages over the past decade is its explosive growth. What started as a small, tight-knit retirement community has ballooned into a sprawling city with over 150,000 residents, and that number keeps climbing all the time. This rapid expansion comes with a host of new challenges that were not even relevant or possible in the early days. For example, traffic congestion on main roads and the community's golf cart paths have become a daily frustration for many residents. Simple errands can now take much longer than expected, and getting a table at a popular restaurant or a spot in a fitness class often requires advanced planning and sometimes a willingness to wait. The sense of community that was once defined as the Villages is also changing. Many longtime residents reminisce about the days when everyone knew each other and social events felt much more intimate. But now, with new neighborhoods popping up seemingly overnight and more of the population being seasonal, it can be harder to form those deep connections or to maintain that small town feeling. And some residents feel that the focus has shifted from community to development, with new construction sometimes outpacing the infrastructure needed to support it. And for those who moved to the Villages looking for a quieter, more relaxed lifestyle, the constant growth and overcrowding can be a major disappointment, prompting them to look for a slower-paced community somewhere else. And while there's no shortage of things to do, actually getting access to those amenities can be trickier than you'd expect. One of the biggest draws of the Villages is its incredible array of recreational activities, and this includes anything from pickleball to tennis, swimming, golf, fitness classes, arts, crafts, and so much more. On paper, it's a retiree's dream, but in practice, the sheer popularity of these amenities means that getting a time to play can be difficult in itself. So if you wanted to play pickleball at 8 a.m. or join a yoga class at a convenient time, you may need to reserve a time in advance or be prepared to join a waitlist. And during peak season, it's not unusual for the most popular activities and facilities to be way more packed than usual, with lines for courts, pools, and being more overcrowded, classes tend to fill up shortly after registrations open. And this high demand doesn't just affect convenience, it also takes a toll on the facilities themselves. The increased use can lead to worn out equipment, overbooked spaces, and a general decline in the quality of the experience. And some residents have voiced concerns that the amenities, while plentiful, aren't always able to keep up with the growing population, and that the promise of endless recreation sometimes falls short of what they experience in reality. But for those who move to the Villages specifically for an active lifestyle, the frustration of not being able to easily play their favorite activities can be a real letdown, and over time, this could lead them to look for communities with less people and more availability. After a while, some folks start to feel that they've tried every restaurant and shopped in every store as well. Now, at first glance, the Villages, town squares, and the surrounding restaurants seem to offer plenty of variety. But after living there for a while, many residents find that the options can start to feel repetitive, especially for those who are looking for more culinary and shopping options. And while there are a number of chain restaurants, local eateries, and shops, the selection is limited compared to more developed areas, and new additions are becoming less and less common over time. So if you're someone who enjoys different places to eat, unique shopping, or multiple entertainment options, you might find yourself running out of new experiences pretty quickly. The sense of sameness isn't just about food and shopping, though. Some residents say that entertainment and cultural options are also somewhat limited because they feel a similar way about the events and other activities. And while this works well for some people want more variety and excitement. So over time, the lack of different options can lead to boredom or a desire to explore life outside of the villages altogether. And for those who value diversity and novelty in their daily lives, this can be a big factor in deciding whether to leave the villages or not. Now, when it comes to healthcare, the villages has options, but growing population means longer wait times and limited access to specialized care. With a large population of retirees, access to quality healthcare should be a big priority here in the villages. And the community does offer a range of basic medical services, including primary care, clinics, urgent care, and some specialty providers. However, the sheer volume of residents means that demand for these services keeps them very busy most of the time. Long waits for appointments, crowded waiting rooms, and not enough staff are common complaints, especially during peak season when the snowbirds are down and the population increases even further. For routine care, this can be an inconvenience, but for those with more serious or more complex health needs, it can be a real concern to them. Specialized care such as cardiology, oncology, or advanced surgical services may not always be available within the community during the time that it's needed. And some residents often find themselves traveling to nearby cities for appointments, treatments, or sometimes hospital stays. Now, this extra travel is manageable for some, but for others, especially those with mobility issues or chronic conditions, it adds stress and complexity to their regular healthcare routine. And over time, the challenges of timely and high-quality healthcare outweigh the benefits of living in the villages, meaning that some residents decide to move closer to family or to areas with more robust medical infrastructure. And finally, life changes. Whether it's health issues, family priorities, or simply wanting something new, sometimes it's just time to move on. Life is definitely full of changes, and what works at one stage of life may not work forever. Many people move to the villages seeking an active, social retirement, but as time goes on, priorities often shift. Health issues may arise, making it harder to participate in activities or to maintain their home altogether. The desire to be closer to children, grandchildren, or other family members often becomes more pressing, especially as residents age or face more serious health issues. For some, the distance from loved ones becomes a source of loneliness or worry, leading them to relocate for better support and allow them to form better connections with their families. And personal interest and goals can also change over time. Some residents find that after a few years, they're ready for a new adventure, maybe a different climate, a more urban environment, or a new community altogether. And others realize that the village's focus on retirement living isn't the right fit for them and their long-term happiness. But whatever the reason, these changing needs and circumstances are a natural part of life, and they're a major factor in why people ultimately decide to leave the villages for new opportunities or experiences. So there you have it. These are some of the most common reasons that people decide to leave the villages, Florida. But what do you think? Was there anything that I missed, or is there anything that you've heard of that maybe I didn't talk about? Be sure to leave it in the comments down below so that way we can share it with more people. And if you liked the video today, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time.